There you go. Okay.
You know where you are?
Yes. Welcome to the Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. And we're pleased to have you here. We are going through the 12 Powers of Man, which was put together by Charles Fillmore and others years ago. And we're now down to the 11th power, which is understanding. And understanding is the ability to perceive and comprehend the spiritual truth of being. Now that's my definition, okay? Because understanding occurs through maturity and experience. Anybody agree it takes sometimes experience to understand the outcomes of things? And so there's also a trust and faith thing with that. Okay, the color for this power is gold. And Deanna did it. I asked her last week how she's going to match our color of gold, and there it is. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it's interesting. The disciple for this is Thomas. Okay? And Thomas, if you don't know, has a nickname, Doubting Thomas. Because he's the one that had to make sure that this was really a resurrected Jesus by putting his hands on the side. Okay? So it has a flavor of doubt until we experience and get through the issues of life. Okay? So, and our facilitator is Reverend Maddie. Okay, and I'm going to call her that. So appreciate that. I'm even using her nickname.
I know.
She has a long history. We've been together a long time. And I was thinking, it's been years. And we were sitting in, the first time we heard these things, one of the first Unity services we got to, and I forgot this. We were in Birmingham, Alabama. We went up to hear Catherine Ponder. Okay? And Catherine Ponder's message, now we had heard her on tapes, we had heard other things, but her in person, and what a dynamic individual she was. And she had these big, beautiful diamond drop earrings and this necklace. It was like, oh my God, look at this.
Her dress was.
So anyway, having done that, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to begin this morning by looking at the insert in your bulletin that I put in. And I keep looking at this and I keep laughing at this. This is Albert Einstein, my most favorite history individual. Any fool can know. The point is to understand. Does anybody know people that know? The words, they know the words.
I was one of them.
So, the affirmation that I'm going to say is, if you would like to join me, I claim understanding now. I spiritually know and comprehend how to use my powers to be the best I can be.
Amen.
And actually, I was going to go into your interpretation that you wrote in the newsletter because I thought it was really, really brilliant.
Einstein.
Experience of failures and successes bring the maturity to gather information, review and apply our spiritual awareness, and proceed on our path. Review and apply our spiritual awareness and proceed on our path with trust and faith in the principles. So it's experience. Experience is so huge in understanding. Let's see, I'm going to start with heart-centered metaphysics. I get to read all these books to you today. There are two ways of getting understanding. Ready? Just two ways. One is by following the guidance of spirit that dwells within, and the other is to go blindly ahead and learn by hard experiences.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I got a article from Sarasota in the Florida Sentinel newspaper, and I thought I'd read it to you. An elderly Florida lady did her shopping, and upon returning to her car, I'm going to read fast because I forgot my glasses. An elderly Florida lady did her shopping, and upon returning to her car, thank you so much, found 4 males in the act of leaving with her vehicle. She dropped her shopping bags and drew her handgun, proceeding to scream at the top of her lungs. "I have a gun and I know how to use it. Get out of the car." The 4 men didn't wait for a second threat. They got out, ran like mad. The lady, somewhat shaken, then proceeded to load her shopping bags into the back of the car and get into the driver's seat. She was so shaken that she could not get her key into the ignition. She tried and tried, and then she realized why. It was for the same reason she had wondered why there was a football, a frisbee, and 2 12-packs of beer in the front seat. A few minutes later, she found her own car parked 4 or 5 spaces down.
Oh my God.
She loaded her bags into the car and drove to the police station to report her mistake. The sergeant to whom she told the story couldn't stop laughing. He pointed to the other end of the counter where 4 pale men were reporting a car jacking by a mad elderly woman, described as white, less than 5 feet tall, glasses, curly white hair, and carrying a large handgun. No charges were filed. So, if we're going to make up a story, take action, and live out our beliefs, let's make it memorable. And let's use intuition maybe next time. We're going to include today in our understanding.
Wisdom?
Wisdom, intuition.
Yes. Okay. Well, where did you go?
Spirit told her.
Okay.
I'm glad. It was a good story.
Okay, so the idea is that who are we? Robert says this every Sunday. Who are we? And once we really realize who we are, what can happen?
The kingdom of heaven is within. We start realizing
How's life work?
it works. Yes.
Anybody like lifestyle? Anything you could want? So I was reading in the Course in Miracles, the quiet answer. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. Every problem. Thus it must be that time is not involved, and every problem can be answered when? Now. God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Do you think that was given?
That fits into understanding. Because I have to have the wisdom to do that, and the intuition and the faith to parse. That's great. That is. Because if they're working with that, the only way I learn to trust is to have those things occur. A lot of us have been through issues. Anybody been through issues here? And it's only on the other side that you learn. Yeah. And it's applying the principles in the quiet. And I don't know about you, but I was trained to react, to be the fixer, and immediately go into emergency and do something. Yeah. So thank you for bringing it up. Sit in the quiet.
Sit in
So I'll be quiet.
No. I mean, that's what it says. It's here that all your problems should be brought and left. Here they belong. And I don't know if any of you are Course in Miracles students. I love the Course in Miracles. The challenge with it is, if you want to read something, sometimes you have to keep reading it and reading it and reading it to understand it. And once you understand it, it's so simple. That's why I outlined these, that's what it says here. It says, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Easy.
And that's what we're about. We know that there's a connection each one of us can have directly to divine mind. There's no need for intermediaries, there's no need for special ceremonies, there's no need for special words. Each one of us has a direct connection. And that's what we're about, is learning how to do that next direct connection. And how to, if you stop and think about it, the Bible's full of promises. Okay, well, great. How do I experience those promises? We go into the quiet, into the stillness and the meditation. And the only way you do that is do it, and then have results. And unfortunately, the outside world keeps coming in. Oh, you got to run, you got to scream, you got to worry, you got to do this. Even prayer is, oh God, please fix my whatever. Right? Like we treat God like a cosmic bell or a nurse or
A genie.
a genie. Yeah. I can remember Phil Goldberg. Excuse me.
We have a magic, we have a incense that somebody gave us one time, a stand, and it's a genie, a lamp, so that's
Aladdin's lamp comes there.
And so sometimes I rub it, but it doesn't.
It doesn't pop out.
And that's really metaphorically what we do when we attack a problem in the outside world in a material way rather than a spiritual. We look for a lamp to rub, hoping something will rub off. And the genie will pop up and everything will be wonderful.
That's the way it is. I watch a lot of movies. They're true. Okay, one of the things Albert Einstein, oh my gosh. There are a couple of things that are in the 12 Powers book that he said, and every man knows that in his work he does best and accomplishes most when he has attained a proficiency that enables him to work intuitively. That is, there are things which we come to know so well that we do not know how we know them. So it seems to me in matters of principle, perhaps we live best and do things best when we are not too conscious of how and why we do them. He is so cool. He didn't even know if he ate lunch, He would walk along the street and he would say to somebody, which way is the cafeteria? And so if he knew which way it was, he would know that he was coming from lunch or he was going to lunch. He was so amazing. Some of the biography of him, I don't know if anyone has read it.
It's fascinating. You keep bringing stuff up. The spaced repetition, the way we learn things in the physical world. Anybody's been through any kind of training, martial arts, that you do the same thing over and over again. And anybody that's been through any of that knows you just keep throwing a punch or doing whatever you're doing until it's automatic. And that's how when you see people being able to break borders and do all kinds of things, because it becomes a mental issue, not a physical issue, right?
I remember when I did it, was over and over to get,
She does have a brown belt.
Yeah, it was
and
repetition.
But that's what we need to do, is repetition of meditation, repetition of prayer, repetition of affirmation. And we think we can do it 2 or 3 times and wait for things to fall out of heaven. It ain't that way. That's understanding. No. I know you're going to chastise me.
See, he thinks he knows, Tony. Okay, I'm going to end with this, and then
Go ahead. We got so much more.
we'll ask if anybody has a question. This is still Albert. It comes as the result of prolonged effort and reflection and application, failures, trying again. Then, in the end, one knows things without knowing how one knows them. And, this was Charles Filmer. And I gathered that the professor meant to say that no man knows anything until he knows it is what is this? It is in
You
his
have my glasses on.
instinctive way.
Instinctive.
And who's the one that held the balls and when he fell asleep, he would get the answer?
Well, that was Edison.
Oh, okay.
Edison would put 2 steel balls in his hands like this, and he would go into trance slowly. And he programmed himself. He got used to it. He trained himself to have the divine idea. And when he fell asleep, the balls would drop out of his hand, and he would write down the last thing that he remembered. And that's how he created his wonderful innovations in the world. Okay? And we can all see, we all have the same connection. We do. And it's an understanding, though, of continuing until you acquire that automatic. It's automatic.
And sometimes I don't know, I'm going to do something and the day passes and I don't do it. So it's really a training, like you said.
Yeah.
It's setting your clock, setting something.
Thank you.
So I found that right when I wake up in the morning is when a lot of ideas just come to me.
Yeah.
Or like before my mind has got a chance to work.
Now, he has trained his mind to do that. See, in other words, it's like all that ability is there, but it's up to us to start programming it. And I hate that word programming, but I don't know what else to use. Because we're programmed by the outside world, so why don't we program ourselves from the inner world?
You're so right, because I have a guide that when I wake up in the morning, it's organization. You got to do this, you got to do that. So I need to try,
I've
choose
noticed
one of those guides. Any questions?
comments.
Dowdy Thomas, anything?
I have a comment. So of late, I've been getting vivid dreams, and sometimes these dreams inform me what to expect. So this morning, the last part I had of my dream, I was climbing up a stair. I was going to go to this church, and everything had kind of stopped, and everybody kind of froze. But as I climbed the stairs, my brother was eating a sandwich. And I was like, man, that's a beautiful sandwich. Like, I think I may have the same thing. So the waitress came down and gave me the same thing. And I woke up right at 9. I was thinking of sleeping in. But then I looked at my phone and I saw Madeline's message. And she said, have you seen the menu of this place? And I'm like, no, I haven't, but let me take a look. And when I saw it described a similar sandwich, turkey sandwich, I was like, okay.
We're catering today for the class.
Today for the class. So I'm like, all right, today is it. Let me go. I may have a headache or whatever, but today's the day. Let's go. So it's amazing how answers come to you. Yeah.
That is really funny and coincidental and perfect.
Yeah.
That's interesting. There's all kinds of stories of people in the past that have been inspired by a dream.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that invented the sewing machine, he had a dream at night. And those of you who know sewing machines, there's a needle with a hole in the end, and that's what makes, you put the thread through it, that's what makes the sewing machine work. And this was back, back in the 1800s. And he had a dream that he was being chased by a group of Indians, and they had their spears had a hole in the middle of the point. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of. So again, it's like you were told, right?
Mm-hmm.
Larry is, and I'm realizing that I've been discounting my dreams. You talk about your dreams when you wake up. You do.
So I thought it was really interesting about like when we allow an issue to become an experience rather than an issue. You've talked a lot about there's no good, there's no bad, there's God.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so if we learn to look at our whatever is going on as an experience, and what can we learn from it? either like, what is the experience trying to tell us, or what can we learn from it?
Amen.
And then the other thing that I thought about was getting answers, and Madeline is a great resource for how to get answers, but it's like, I found like if I can't figure something out, I let it go. I don't try to deal with it right now. Like if I don't have a clear sense of direction, I table it for a while. And then I may just kind of check back in to see, okay, well, internally has something changed or whatever. But I think it's when you develop a sense of being okay
Yes.
with things not happening right away.
Yes.
And when you just allow yourself to just kind of wait until you get an answer, and part of it is like, where are you looking for your answers?
Yeah.
Making sure that you're going with it.
Yeah, that's really good. And what brings up is that sometimes we work too hard to get answers, and it's like, that's it. Sometimes we try so hard, we do another class, we read another book, we do this, we do that, we just, want life to work for us, and we just work so hard.
The answer is always in the next class, or somebody's hiding something from me, or
The next workshop, that'll do it.
yeah, and there's always a new book, and there's always a new. Oh my God, and so we keep questioning. I was also thinking about what Guy said, that a lot of times we have experiences that we think are bad, but they're really things that are showing us what's going on. In other words, if it's not working, we keep getting feedback, and we keep trying to do the same thing the same way we've been doing it, and suddenly we got to be told, hey, it's not working. Shut up and listen. Me.
God doesn't say shut up.
Well, I know. I'm being literal though. Paul was
But what
that.
God does say shut up. I was going back to what Maddie was saying at the beginning and kind of building on Val, is that so often in our Western culture, we look for the easy button. So like there's one thing to say, you try too hard, but there's also this piece of, we expect that there's always an easy button. I read the book, so therefore I should have the results. I read a story about working out, so therefore I should have big muscles. And it's like we look for that easy button as opposed to doing the experience, putting the reps in, working with it, getting messy with it.
Yeah.
And I think that too often we're afraid to get messy. And in messiness is where we truly gain that understanding. At least that's been my experience of life.
What do you call messy?
Stuff that's willing to be uncomfortable, stuff that's willing to not be timely, stuff that's willing to be scorned by others or questioned by others. Confusion, chaos.
It's tough. There's some transparency in that conversation too, being willing to admit. Okay, I see David's over there.
I like to build off of what you said and what Valerie said, is that one thing that I was taught there was a phrase that was told to me in the military: work smarter, not harder. And so throughout my life, I've always tried to figure out, okay, how can I get this done? But how can I get it done a little bit easier? And if it doesn't take that easiness to get it done, then I go to the hard route. So, and it also takes time, because you also have you can also have a deadline on getting that particular job done. So what would be the easy route to get it done at that particular time, or can you take time and then just make it hard?
Deadlines.
That's
Thank you,
efficiency.
David.
How is efficiency different from ease? Well, ease is good too. Ease isn't really easy.
I'm reminded of the idea that we forget we're a divine human being.
Yeah.
We are the light of the world. The kingdom of heaven is within. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Which to me, if I interpret that, it means I'm not here to struggle. I'm not here to worry about what I'm going to eat. I'm not here to worry about relationships. I'm not here to worry about violence. I'm here to live in almost like a Garden of Eden existence. So where the heck did it go? So my divine nature is that. So I've been trained to struggle against what? My conditioning. So we're dealing with our beliefs that had been so imbued within us that here's the way it really is, but we were created this way. So everything we're talking about is, well, how do I get back to this state of being? And it really comes down to that for me. And it's understanding something got messed up along the way, but I'm really divine. And that's back to what you brought up. Who are you? You know, what is my divine nature? Okay, and what is my possibility? You know, I'm asking myself and you, what is your possibility? And where have I, now I'm not going to say fallen short because then that's a negative, but where have I given up my sonship or my daughtership? Okay. So I got a little deep on that. But back to what Valerie said, everything is good. Everything, and that's one of the difficult things that we have in our conversation, is understanding it's all going to work out.
Darwin Thomas wants to.
Yeah, I doubt everything you guys say. But my understanding is there a different degree of understanding? There's a lot of things that come to me that I don't understand. It may take me 2 or 3 times to get that understanding. And it's no difference if you're raising the kids. Your kids never understand anything. So you ask them something, do you understand that? No.
It's a perfect example, perfect metaphor of what I'm talking about. A baby cannot do anything for itself. It has to be taken care of. And then it reaches teenage, and God bless everything you do.
They can't do anything either for themselves.
Right? And we know the prefrontal cortex doesn't even grow to a ability to make decisions until at least 24, 25. Okay? So all of a sudden, understanding comes. So it's all that experience of growing up.
And wisdom's connected with that too.
Wisdom. Very
Right
interesting.
in the.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of, I hate to go back to the Bible verse, but there's a Bible verse that as young children see the, or whatever it is. But there is a growth process in this, in our humanness to reach a spiritual maturity, is that right?
Something Tommy said that,
That's great, perfect, it is.
going back to, you have to do it, hear it a couple times. Years ago, I learned through NLP that my learning process is that I can read something and it takes me 2 times. I used to teach classes and I had a module book and it would always take me 2 times to read the module book and sometimes 3. So I'm a 2 to 3 time learner and I know it. So if you are that, don't know it and get frustrated. It's just the way it is, the way the brain works.
Well, if you don't understand something, at least if I don't understand something, it stays with me until I understand it.
Yes.
Right.
It doesn't go away.
Yes.
Well, what Robert does, which is really annoying,
No.
is that he can read something, he's got it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like, I've got to work at it.
It's kind of photographic memory.
It's something.
What do we all learn differently? I'm like,
Yeah.
I learn by doing. Like if it's something tactical, I've got it. But if it's something that I read, I have to read it over and over and over for it to sink in. Some people have the retention. I think it's just like, I like what you're saying. Being aware of how it is that you learn, and then be willing to kind of stick with it or maybe adjust it.
And don't get
Don't
frustrated.
get frustrated. Yeah.
That
But
becomes
it
understanding.
doesn't go away, Val. You hold that idea until you solve it. It's always with you.
That's, and you are like a terrier dog. You grab something and hang on to it. You do.
Larry,
Yeah, so I'm stuck with this phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me. So you make an affirmation, like, I create love. If it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
So the ego latches onto that.
I know, but I want to blame others.
I have to do something to create
I
love.
have to do something, right?
But if you look at the truth, there's a power that we don't understand working through our lives. It's just gonna do it, and we don't. It's just gonna make it create it, and we don't have to do
That's
anything.
perfect.
Yeah,
So, but the understanding only comes in to, it's not something that we're gonna have to make happen.
yeah.
It's
That's
just
the
a
problem.
letting go process, not a doing process.
We've been trained that we have to do something. I just saw Sherry going like this.
It's maybe just a sweet, sentimental little story, but when Tommy was talking about kids, it made me remember a dear friend of ours when our daughter was born. I don't even remember how it came up, but she said, do you know why I think that babies can't talk right away? She said, they remember who they are. And the wisdom of spiritual
Yeah.
living. And that's not what they came here
It's
for.
interesting.
And so until they have forgotten who they are, then they're not allowed to speak, because then they would tell us all the secrets and we would stop doing the work that we came here for.
There's the mystery. That's correct.
And so it just like that, talking about kids don't know, teenagers don't know. Aren't we all just trying to get back to the knowing?
That's the process. It's a growth in the understanding. And it's mirrored in our growth. The other question is, when does spirit enter the body? And when does it become a sentient human being?
And I think part of it is that they do know, especially the new ones coming in, and they know, and that's why there's a lot of challenges with
They
parents.
are
'Cause
active. They really are.
Parents are stupid, the kids know better.
True?
So,
Maybe they do in some cases.
Yeah.
so I think we're,
Yeah, we're
I
over
don't know,
time.
I can't see what time it is, but I wrote a poem on understanding to kind of synopsisize everything. If I am to understand, how am I to really know? Sometimes I think so fast, sometimes it comes very slow. I wish that I could spend the time just as I am told to do and stay in the silence like Buddha. He seems to have followed it through. So if I use my intuitive knowing and trust that my heart rings true, I will always know how to act and always know how to ensue. Doing it with ease and with grace is a further helpful tool. To have my life work with splendor, I just follow the golden rule. To appreciate those I love and compassion for those in need will rev up my world with comfort and move it ahead with speed. It seems that the lifestyle I want is a very attainable reach. It seems to enjoy life from a position like always being at the beach. Therefore, my understanding to always knowing what to do is to use my intuitive power, and everything will always come through. So thank you, my dear Father, for the blessing that are always there, and remembering just to reach them and always know that you care.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, man.
You just wrote that in.
Yeah.
Randy's got competition now.
Thank you.
I saved him
All right,
alone.
we're finished.
Say bye.
Bruce?